Alright guys, so here's another quick video, and this one is the comparisons of the Sumerian tablets and the Bible stories. And almost all of the stories in both of these books are the same, but each writer put their own spin on it to make it their own flavor. Like, for example, Adam and Eve. In the Sumerian tablets, Adam and Eve they're not Adam and Eve, they're different names, but the idea is the same as Adam and Eve. Um, Slight differences. The male and female were created in a lab, and the male and female rebelled against the gods. That's essentially the Sumerian tablets. The Bible story is God creates Adam and Eve, puts them in a garden, and they rebel. So it's the same story, just different. Cain and Abel also is in the Sumerian tablets, and it's pretty much the same but different. Like the Tower of Babel, same thing but slightly different. Like even the idea that God lived 1,000 years to man is, or however you say it, that's in the Sumerian tablets. Like, and you have to ask, okay, so then if these stories are similar but slightly different, what does that mean? Well, from my perspective, that can only mean two things. Either, and one of the things it can't be is the older one confirms the newer one, because that doesn't logically work, like, at all. So the only logical thing you can say is that the newer one had access to the older one. And I know people want to say, oh, you're crazy, or you're talking out of your rear end. But what else can you make of finding the same story but different, but one is in a much older source? So where does that leave you? Like, and it's not even just the Sumerian tablets. Like the entire Bible is just an amalgamation of old ideas, just with their own spin on it. Jesus walking on water, great, that's a miracle. But we have this other text that says this other guy walked on air. And yes, somebody is going to come to me and say they're totally different. One walked on water, one walked on air. But in its simplest form, the idea is still the same. You're trying to defy physics by walking on something that you can't walk on. So again, I don't know how you guys' mind works, but all those stories, like from the Bible, the Sumerian tablets, they're all the same, just with their own spin, their own little twist. And this is how it works. I can give you the first Matrix, right? Write a part two. Why? What makes you think you can't write a really good part two? I mean, this. But yeah, I don't know how a Christian, like, how do you get there to this idea that all the flood stories, if they're old, they confirm the Bible one? I don't see how those two ideas can connect. But anyways, I don't know how your mind works like that. Because the great flood story of the Sumerian tablets, it's almost the same as the Bible story. There's a raven in the Sumerian tablets, and in the Bible, of course, it's a dove. You know, it's always these slight differences. And then you have to ask yourself, historically, and a lot of people, especially Christians, say just because there's no evidence doesn't mean they didn't exist. Like for Abraham, Moses, like, because we can't find any of their graves. Like, as far as the people in the Bible, there really is not much corroborating evidence. And I know they'll say there is no corroborating evidence for anyone. Every writing came hundreds of years later. But there are people who did write about certain people, and there are certain people who wrote about themselves. And again, like, why should we take any supernatural story to be true? Because these ideas, like all these ideas, they're just reinterpretations of old ideas. And I don't know how a Christian can look at history and not conclude that every civilization grabbed from the previous one, no matter what the idea is. And a lot of you guys want to think that supernatural ideas aren't borrowed, but they are. And someone's going to, I'm telling you, somebody 2,000 years in the future is going to find a Spider-Man comic book and think that we believe Spider-Man was real. Y'all think this is a joke. This is not a joke. I'm not playing with y'all. Somebody in 2,000 years in the future will pick up a Marvel comic and be like, this dude was real. Batman was real. Like, I'm trying to figure this out. How do y'all reconcile these concepts? Like, it's not even a question. Did people look at previous civilizations, take their stories, copy them, and reinterpret them with their own spin on it? Like, how do you debunk that point? Christians, how do you debunk that point? And a lot of Christians even think the Bible is original. I mean, it's the first book or whatever. The Sumerian tablets came 3,000 years before any book of the Bible. And I can even go Hinduism. The Bhagavad Gita is 2,000 years older than Genesis. So we've got two examples of books that are older than Genesis. Also, Hinduism has the word sin in it. Like, nothing in the Bible is original. So how do you reconcile that fact? It is not a question anymore, as if the Bible has original ideas, because I know that it has no original ideas. Every idea in the Bible is not original. It's all borrowed with their own spin on it. So please reconcile that for me. I can't look at it and not think that, okay, the Bible stories are all borrowed from someone else. Well, that's it. I think I let this one go on too long, but please, how do you reconcile that every civilization pulled from the other, took their ideas, religions, spirituality, theology, and put their own spin on it? That explains all religious texts. All religious texts is explained by that. Someone looked at some old information, put their spin on it, and published it and claimed it as their own truth. That's it, guys. Peace.